Welcome to Confessions by Banana Ketchup. I'm either going crazy or my apartment is haunted. Hey y'all, this is super long, so apologies in advance. Last summer, I was in a really shitty living situation and looking for a quick out. Because of COVID, I wasn't really able to go tour places before I was able to move in. It was either virtual tour or photos. At the time, I was a little strapped on cash, so was looking for a simple one-bedroom in Seattle to move to. Because I was in such a rush, I ended up choosing the first apartment that the manager was super communicative with me. I packed my stuff and my cats up and moved within the week. As soon as I showed up, I was a little apprehensive, but it is in a nice part of Belltown and the building is super vintage, cute. It was originally built as a hotel in the early 1900s and has been renovated to be studio and one-bedroom apartments. The first day we got moved in, my son said he didn't like it there and that it was haunted. I asked him why he said that, and he just said it gave him a weird feeling in his tummy. He's 8. I had a weird feeling about the place too, but for now, this is home. My son went back to live with his dad, and I now live here alone. I started noticing weird little things, like I would come back and a kitchen cabinet door would be open, or something I swore I had placed on a TV stand would be on the kitchen counter, or the bathroom light would be on and I remember turning it off. I decided to invite a friend over to sage and bless the place, and I told whoever was there that they were welcome as long as they didn't mean any harm to me or my cats. I think that was a mistake. I used to be able to sleep for 16 hours at a time. I suffer from depression and PTSD, and sleep has always been my escape. Since moving into this place, I sleep 2 to 4 hours at a time and usually have vivid nightmares. I had night terrors for years after coming back from Iraq, but they subsided after therapy and medications, and I have been okay for the last 3 or 4 years or so, with only a few nightmares or night terrors every couple months. And the nightmares now are really weird and don't make sense, and I can't remember them after waking up, usually. I do remember some of them, but I feel absolutely terrified and scared to go back to sleep for hours afterwards. After about 2 months of living here is when activity really picked up. One day I got home from work and I went upstairs to check the mail. From the corner of my eye, I saw something move at the end of the hall. I figured it was someone coming out of their apartment, so I glanced down and no one was there. Suddenly, I felt absolute terror, like it hit me so hard out of nowhere, it took my breath away. I kept staring down the hall, waiting for something to appear, but the feeling of terror just got worse and I started shaking. I grabbed my packages and ran back down the stairs. I turned on the TV. Also, another thing, I cannot be in silence in this apartment, it freaks me out, and tried to shake the feeling. An hour later, this weird tapping noise came from behind the stove. Tap, 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 over and over. And then the power in the kitchen went out, which was weird as everything electric in my apartment is connected to one power fuse located in the box in a closet outside of my apartment in the hallway. Weird, probably a fire hazard, who knows? I can't run 2 appliances at once or all my power goes out. Like if the space heater is on, I can't use the Keurig or the vacuum, etc. So this was weird. I kept pressing the reset on the outlet and it would come on again, and then the tapping would start and the power would go back out, and then that feeling of terror came over me again. It came on so suddenly, it was shocking, but I suddenly felt like I was surrounded by something evil. All the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. My chest got really tight. I started freaking out. I rarely pray, but I ended up sitting on my bed and praying to all my ancestors and whatever gods there are and the universe to please get this out of my apartment. I had an urge to light all the candles in my apartment, so I did so, and then I returned to praying. I have no idea how long I did this for. My cats were going berserk, running from one end of the apartment to the other and meowing loudly, which only added to what I felt was oncoming hysteria. I was sobbing. I don't know why I didn't just leave. I think I didn't want to leave my cats alone. Anyway, out of nowhere, the terror subsided. The tapping sound, which I think was amplified in my mind because of how scared I felt, stopped and all power in my kitchen came back on. It seemed to suddenly get brighter in my apartment too, which was weird. Like I had been looking through tinted windows and now was seeing clearly. I didn't understand it. The cats calmed down and seemed to both instantly fall asleep next to me. I curled up in a ball and passed out. To this day, the cats will still randomly freak out and run back and forth, making super weird meowing noises. That was definitely one of the worst of the experiences. On another night, I was sleeping and I was awoken very suddenly, like someone had entered the room and touched me and was now watching me. I just remember being like, what the duck? I looked around and saw nothing but sensed someone standing next to me. I didn't want to acknowledge it, so shut my eyes. Then something started tapping my foot. Tap, 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 like the tapping in the kitchen. I thought that was a weird cramp, so I shook my foot. Tap, tap, tap. I stretched my foot out. Tap, tap, tap. It felt like someone was physically tapping my foot. Finally, I sat up and said, "Stop, please." I waited a bit and it felt like whoever was there left the room, but I could still sense them on the other side of the apartment. It is a tiny 450 square feet. I lied back down and the tapping did not come back. I fell asleep and had a crazy nightmare. I lived the life of an African-American college-age woman. I'm a white woman. For a couple years. She lived in California, didn't own a car, lived in a 70s style apartment complex near her school. I believe this time of me living her life may have been in the 70s. She always dressed really smartly. I loved her style. I remember all these weird details of her life, like going to class and grocery shopping, having dinner with her boyfriend. I was experiencing this. Then she began being stalked by her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend. I don't remember a lot of these details, but I remember being scared and anxious about what was happening. One day, this ex cornered her, me, in this room that had stairs at the college. This is just what I remember, like I entered a small room that was made of tall windows and a black staircase led to upstairs. The ex had a big hoodie on and she pulled a gun. I remember it was a little snub-nosed revolver, out and shot me in the head after screaming at me as I cowered in a corner and begged for my life. I woke up with a loud bang in my ears. My ears were ringing and I felt super dizzy and disoriented and nauseous as hell. I ended up having a migraine and had to call out of work. This is how badly the dream affected me. It was hard to shake. And that's the thing about these dreams. In the dreams that I can remember, it's like I'm reliving someone else's life sometimes, going through the same events that always lead to something horrific. But I have no idea if these people are real or any of these stuff has ever actually happened. Or the dreams I feel like are twisted versions of people that I used to be close to. My ex of 4 years often makes an appearance. One time, his face kept changing every time I looked at him, and eventually, he looked like his skin was melting off his face. I almost feel like something is implanting these dreams in my head to torment me sometimes. I've had some other weird experiences, but nothing as intense as these until the other night. Some things I want to note is that since moving here, my mental health has taken a serious dive. I was seriously contemplating suicide, felt like I would disassociate with reality way more often, became really reclusive and procrastinated everything. My drinking was getting out of control again, but when I would leave the apartment just to walk to the shop or go grocery shopping, I felt totally fine. Like a darkness had been lifted off of me, but I wouldn't recognize it until I was back in my apartment for a couple days, working from home mostly and have no real reason to leave otherwise. Since this is a novel, this is the last thing I'll share. I woke up at 3 a.m. on the dot Sunday night. I felt like I was not alone. I ended up texting my boyfriend, who, when he's here, he lives an hour plus away, so we don't see each other often. Nothing happens and I can sleep for 10 to 12 hours, and I'll attach a screenshot. But basically, I woke up, saw a shadow standing in my living room, and then it turned and walked through the door, and then the tapping on my foot started like crazy. But it was accompanied with a burning sensation. Again, I sat up and said, "Stop, please," and it did, but my foot went numb. After I calmed down, I reached down to pet my cat that was sleeping on the left side of my bed close to the wall and lied back down. As I was lying there, I felt what I thought was my other cat jump on the bed on the right side and could feel her walk around. When I went to pet her, nothing was there, and I saw her sleeping on the couch some 10 feet away. Cat on the left hadn't moved at all. I was like, nope. I should note, I have seen this shadow person multiple times. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. They're always standing in the living room and will just go out the door or turn and go into the hallway storage area that leads to the bathroom, and that little area freaks me out. I won't go in there without the lights on. Anywho, I'm desperate to move out of here, but my lease isn't up until August and I can't find a legal way out of it. But I'm 100% moving out the day my lease is up. I'll attach screenshots of the convo with my boyfriend and the apartment manager, kinda confirming the apartments are haunted. This is before any of the scary stuff happened, before the furnace was turned on, so that wasn't the tapping in the kitchen. He says they're friendly. I don't agree. I also have a carbon monoxide detector and it hasn't gone off, which reminds me of something else that happened. One night, I was sitting on the couch watching TV and started to smell gas. I was like, what the hell? I looked over and the knob on my gas stove had turned on somehow. No idea how. I hadn't been close to the stove and neither were my cats. The stove wasn't lit, just gas coming out of one of the burners. Maybe this thing really wants to kill me. Who knows? That's only happened once. Well, thanks for reading if you got this far, and if you have any advice, please let me know. Thank you, the Cupcake Bandit, the author. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you already haven't, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any new episodes. See you again soon, and until then, please, be safe.